What's up everyone, it's Karthik with MoneyVest. Welcome on board for our market open live stream. Hope you all are doing great as a ton of individual stocks are absolutely popping off, as Nvidia sitting at over 191. We got SMH also sitting a brand new all-time high, as ASML also is going crazy at over $1,500 per share right now, and SMH is up over 2.5%. I know it may not seem like a lot, but $417. Semiconductors and chips doing what they do best, which is going absolutely crazy. Once again, we got Texas Instruments also reporting earnings. It's up almost 7% at $210 per share. So again, a lot of consolidation sideways is what we really saw originally, but we are now trading back to near that resistance. And the star of the show, at least for right now, is ASML, up almost 5%, breaking out to new all-time highs of over $1,500 per ounce. And President Trump coming out with a brand new threat to Iran, putting more military over in that region. And as a result, crude oil prices are pushing up in all this uncertainty related to the US-Iran conflict, trading back up to over $63 a barrel. And what else is going to be moving if there's uncertainty of a war? Gold and silver. Gold is now at a brand new all-time high, $5,257 per ounce, and silver prices also trading at over $113 per ounce. The all-time high sitting just over $117 per ounce for silver. So gold, silver, S&P 500, all-time highs. A lot of individual stocks, SMH, semiconductors, all-time highs. Just crazy what's going on in this market. There's a lot of momentum coming in. A lot of money stepping in, a lot of money stepping out. Treasury bonds getting dumped by European alliances, and a lot of new money coming into the semiconductor and equity space, not to mention commodities, precious metals, and gold also moving higher, silver moving higher. Crypto has been back and forth. Crypto has been struggling. It's more or less sideways right now, with Bitcoin just sitting over $90,000, back at over $90,000, and Ethereum is trading back up to over $3,000. Iron has been on an absolute surge. Who here is trading iron? Who's got iron right now? $60. We're back at over $60 after a long time. After 3 months since November 2025, iron was trading under $60, and this is all because of Anthropic's capital raise of over $20 billion, valuing the company at over $350 billion. Essentially a resurgence in confidence, investor confidence coming in to the entire AI data center, server, cloud computing space, and as a result, iron and a few other names, AI-related data center stocks were pushing higher, 14.5% for iron here. Micron pushing up to $410. Pre-markets up another 3% on the back of continued shortage for memory and chips. And of course, SanDisk is another big component of this entire rally, up another 5%, trading up to almost the all-time highs of $505 per share. So absolutely incredible what is going on in this market. So many stocks popping off, so many names. If you come over to our 2026 watch list, we got so much happening in this semiconductor chips sector. Most of them are actually in the semi space. So if you come over to semiconductor watch list, take a look at this. SOXL obviously leveraged, leading higher, almost at a brand new all-time high, and just incredible. Like from April 2025, this thing is up over 880%, almost 900% for SOXL. We traded SOXL, guys. All of us, we traded SOXL last year. We made a lot of money, but of course, we left a lot of money on the table as well. But it's a leverage trade, so we got to be extremely careful with all of that. I know my brother, his cost base is around $7 or $8. He, I think, exited around the $40 to $50 mark. But just look at where SOXL is right now. I'm going to text my brother and tell him not to look at SOXL, while also implying for him to look at it. But yeah, I know a lot of A lot of people traded SOXL. And Melly's having a good week. Mercado Libre, I still owe you guys that video. It's going to be coming very soon. I'm still working on a few different ones because it's earnings season. It's going to be quite busy going over and wrapping up the earnings for a lot of companies. But Mercado Libre, for sure, having a very strong week, up over 7% or just over $157 this entire week. Broadcom is also bouncing, right? Broadcom came down to that support perfectly from 312, 313. It's back up to over 337 now, getting a very nice reversal from that area of support. And look at the semiconductors. Like, this is, in my opinion, where one needs to be long term. So SMH has been one of my larger holdings, one of the ETFs that I've talked about over many, many months and even years now. Has done incredibly well. I mean, this thing is up since April. It is more than doubled, almost tripled in value. So 148% is where we are. So what do you think will happen with the wrist stocks with this Japanese yen in dollar problem? So I understand that there is definitely a lot of concern for this carry trade 2.0, and as Japanese bonds continue to push higher, the 30-year, the 20-year, 10-year treasuries for Japanese bonds continues to push up, and of course the Japanese yen continues to devalue as Japan really is not in a very good position to handle both inflation and interest rate policy, monetary policy. But as I mentioned before, I think it's been a little bit more contained and controlled this time around. As you can already see, the U.S. equities have just been flourishing. I mean, they're sitting at all-time highs. But what happens with U.S. treasuries, I think, is a much bigger question for all investors long-term. I think from a macro perspective, treasury market, the bond market is twice as big as the equities market, right? It's very, very large. It's a big C of fixed income, in terms of market sizes. And what happens with U.S. treasuries is going to be far more telling than what happens with anywhere else in the world or any other asset class or commodity. So my eyes and focus is always going to be on treasury auctions, bid to cover ratios, overall demand dynamics for U.S. treasuries from foreign investors and domestic investors. And overall, the health of the U.S. economy really very much depends on the appetite for foreign investors for U.S. treasuries. Because the moment we start to see a bit of a tapering off of the demand for 10-year treasuries or 20-year treasuries, prices start to come down. And that's what happens when demand starts to go away. And if prices come down, then that's when the yields start to go up. When yields start going up, borrowing cost becomes more expensive. For the U.S., it becomes a bit of a trade-off, right? It's not very easily accessible to raise capital at cheaper rates, and they have to pay higher interest rate. And higher interest rates are obviously not great for U.S. to finance its deficits every single year, and also becomes a challenge for growth and tech stocks as well. So the big question really is going to be all around U.S. Treasury and the appetite for government bonds, U.S. government bonds in the rest of the world, because a lot of so is the audio okay, Thomas? Audio is fading out. Maybe try to refresh and it should work fine. Let's have your brother feature on our stream one time. Absolutely, we should do that for sure. So now I'm up 35% since 2026 to yesterday. I'm not trading options in this account. I'm 99.8% invested on this portfolio. I have like 40K in a different account. That's an option account. Is up 43% year to date. That's incredible. That's amazing. Congratulations. That's a very, very strong return. How do I bib trade the interest rate pullback? Yeah, I think TLT is going to be your best option. That's the bond ETF that a lot of people trade and invest and take hedges on, and obviously are trading options on to bet on interest rates. Netflix dropped so I can buy more. Netflix was a good pickup in my view. I think in the low 80s, $82, $83. Even right now, it hasn't really moved much, but yes, that was a very strong support for Netflix, resistance all the way up to $94, $95. Now, let's do our Q&A. It's almost 9 a.m. Eastern in the US. We also have a big Fed meeting coming up later today. So at 2 p.m. Eastern, I will be live again to cover the press conference, the speech at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So we'll cover all of that. Now, we're going to do a Q&A for the next 20-25 minutes. We're going to cover all different stocks, anything that you want to talk about, macroeconomics, geopolitics, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, everything. But I only have one condition. That's it. Only one condition. I'm sharing this link. This is the link for this live stream. Share it. Share it with other traders, investors, family, friends, so we can have more people join us during this live stream. I would really appreciate that. And again, I'm going to take everyone's question. I'm going to try to hit every single question that comes through the chat to cover it for the next 30 minutes and answer all questions for you. Have a really detailed discussion so that we can learn and grow together. So all I'm asking in return, share this live stream. Would greatly appreciate that. Helps out the channel in a tremendous way. All right, let's see those questions. Let's keep them coming, and I will take it up one by one. Where do you see AMD going? So advanced micro devices, I think valuation-wise is not as bad as what we originally thought. I think it's a pretty strong chip designer, very comparable to NVIDIA. I think both NVIDIA and AMD are, in my opinion, strong long-term holds, part of SMH. So the overall semiconductor space, for me, is a simple buy and hold. For me, it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest sector for the next decade. And as I've repeatedly mentioned over and over again, if I were only given the choice to buy one sector and hold it for the next 10 years, I would be buying SMH. I would be buying semiconductors. That's what I would be doing. I would not even think twice into putting money into anything else other than semiconductors. So we've done videos, separate individual videos on all these companies. In fact, I was planning on doing an ASML video today, but I think it's going to get pushed out to tomorrow. Done a video on Broadcom, done several videos on AMD, of course, did a video on NVIDIA multiple times over the years. We've talked about Applied Materials, we've talked about Micron, Lam Research. A lot of them are, in fact, part of the shopping list. TSMC's great company, obviously very, very integral to the ecosystem. Texas Instruments, we talked about Qualcomm. So all in all, semiconductors, as I've mentioned before, for me, long-term hold. Now, obviously, individual stocks, we have to look in the valuations as well. AMD, we've got a resistance up to as much as 267. We're getting a little bit of that resistance there. If it pulls back, I think sub $200 is what I was really targeting. Last time AMD was in and around these levels. So if it does drop back down, we're looking at 235 down to 225 as areas of support, down to as low as 194, 195 for AMD as well. Okay, expectations on Meta earnings. Okay, hard to say what the expectations are. I think they're going to come in with a strong beat. I think the EPS just over $8.21, revenue of $58 billion. I think easy beats for Meta. What's going to be the guidance is what's going to move the stock. Obviously, nobody's going to like what I would want for the stock to do. Probably going to get canceled for that, but I really do want Meta to come down a little bit, only because I've got 645 covered call strikes that I really would love to see expire out of the money. I'm only 4% away from where Meta needs to be after earnings. So I've got until Friday. Of course, if after earnings today, Meta just absolutely rips beyond 675 and 680, then it's a loss to dream. I think I just have to let my shares go at that point. I'm gonna take my I'm gonna wave the white flag after months and weeks of trading this. But if there is any possibility for Meta to tank after earnings, I think you're gonna see the biggest smile on my face. Biggest smile, bigger than any time ever before I've seen volatility spike. I think it's gonna be the biggest smile if that happens, but I think probability is low. We also ran a poll yesterday. I think majority people, 70% were expecting Meta to rally after the earnings, and only 30% were expecting for me to get lucky, which again, chances are slim. Send like Palantir odds on a downtrend. What's your opinion? So Palantir has also been consolidating sideways, right? So this is really the range within which Palantir has been trading overall. So this right here is a lot of consolidation. We got a resistance, triple top, quadruple top at 189, 190. We got a pretty decent support down here, 147, 148, and then some support level down here at 160. So overall, I think it's been on a consolidation range bound pattern. But yes, if you were to look at it more short term, it has been trading inside this downtrend. So yes, you're right. We're trading inside this downtrend, and the next stop is going to be potentially 147, 148 in case Palantir breaks down below this support right there at 160s. So that's going to be that level. SMH, got it. Let's see, UNH thoughts and Lyft stock update. So let's take a look at Lyft. I am a little bit more bullish on Uber for the long term. I've done a video on Uber, I think, quite a few times. I think multiple videos I've done on Uber, but this right here is the entire consolidation. It's actually come down to a very strong support now at around $79, $80. And then if you take a look at Lyft, it's also been selling off quite aggressively. A little bit of a falling wedge for Lyft, and we got a support level all the way down here at $15 to $16. So starting to see a bit of a breakdown below this area of support, and next support all the way down to as low as $15 to $16 for Lyft. Let's take a look at UNH, United Health. Again, another gap down after taking staircases up, took a big elevator down yesterday on earnings. Beat coming in for EPS, a pretty decent miss on revenue, and coming back to fill this gap. So this was a gap left after the last earnings, which looks like it's going to get filled this time around. But then also to fill this gap, we're leaving one at the top. So support level all the way down to, unfortunately, in the 230s. If the stock continues to bleed, that's going to be that support. And then we can potentially expect something similar to what we witnessed here, a little bit of reversal back to where it was. Lam Research, LRCX. So Lam Research continues to be on this amazing uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows, pre-market, pushing up even further. I think all semiconductor stocks are pushing up pre-market. If I bring over this watch list and just look at extended hours and remove this percentage change, I mean, just look at this. Everything is up. Texas Instruments, obviously because of earnings. They got Intel because of a deal with NVIDIA, I believe, that came out. So investors are optimistic about Intel due to strong demand for AI. And also coming in, let me just read it very quickly. Jumps over 3%. Two-day losing streak rising after offering investors some respite amid a polarizing debate over the future of legacy of chipmaker. And I believe there was some also news that they're going to be working together. So are swirling that chip giant NVIDIA might use Intel's factories for part of the production related to NVIDIA's next-gen Feynman agriculture. The AI and GPU platform is likely to be announced in 2028 and would succeed the recently announced Rubin system. So that was one of the rumors or the news. It was pushing higher. Of course, it helps. The entire semiconductor got a huge lift on Texas Instruments and ASML's earnings. So again, on semi, ASML, Lam Research, Applied Materials, everything is green except for Qualcomm. Qualcomm has been such an underperformer. It's crazy. The entire semiconductor sector is pushing, but Qualcomm, for some reason, is such an underperformer right now. But yeah, overall, semis doing very well. So good to see that. Okay, what are my thoughts on ACHR and Oracle? So let's take a look at Oracle, so ORCL. And Oracle it has been selling off, obviously, from back in September. Valuations were very high. It was very expensive, as we talked about in our previous updates and live streams. It has come down to some pretty attractive, pretty reasonable levels now. 183, 182, stabilizing a bit, although still seeing and showing signs of weakness. Next support down at 150s. And I think Oracle now is getting down to levels which are a bit of an overreaction to the downside as well. Because earnings expectations are still decent for 2026 and 2027 and beyond. Nice 40 to 50% growth expected. Whereas the price earnings multiple sitting at 34 times earnings and a little bit under 9 times sales. 9 times sales, yes. So I think as investors overreacted on the way up, I think they might be overreacting on the way down. And for 150, 152, 155, I think the support level is very good for Oracle, in my opinion. Okay, ACHR. Let's take a look at Archer Aviation. And this is also a stock that keeps coming up among a lot of investors all the time. So let's take a quick look on the technicals. I don't know why it's taking so long to load now. PayPal is a good buy now. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. PayPal, I obviously had PayPal for a couple of years, and then finally called it last year, took a loss and reinvested into something else. But for me, it was just not worth holding on to, because even though the company is doing great, the stock price doesn't react to anything. And if there's no volume, there's no excitement, there's no activity, it becomes a very difficult stock to trade and invest. So, one of the things that I learned, you're learning all the time, right? That despite how great the financials can be, you also have to look into overall sentiment, overall investor confidence into that stock. And that is what was lacking for PayPal. And so for me, I feel like there's better opportunities out there than to be looking at PayPal. Just my 2 cents. Now looking at Archer Aviation, again, we're going through a lot of consolidation sideways, and it's gotten rejected here at this quadruple top multiple times. You got a very strong support down at 660 and a resistance all the way up here at close to 920, 925 for Archer Aviation. So a lot of consolidation sideways is what we're seeing for Archer. Okay, Archer, and let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix, I think we already looked at Netflix. So Archer and Netflix we have already covered. Bloom Energy. So Bloom Energy has also been under a lot of watch lists. A lot of people are interested in this company as well. So initiated a buy from China Renaissance, initiated at equal weight by Barclays, and then extremely volatile. So overall, if you take a look at the fundamentals, there isn't much profitability. However, it is getting close to being profitable. And if you look at the valuation, we're looking at 18 times sales and 185 times cash flows, which is an expensive valuation overall. And earnings are expected to really accelerate from 2025 all the way until 2028. That's almost going to be an 800-900% increase in earnings. So revenue expected from just under 2 billion to well over 6.3 billion for the company. And as a result, Bloom Energy has been on a very, very strong rally here since April 2025. Stocks up 10x, almost 1,000% from those levels. So resistance all the way up here, close to 151, 150. Support level is going to stay put $75 to $86 for Bloom Energy. Okay, PayPal we covered, Archer, Netflix, Bloom Energy. Thoughts on SMCI. So again, super microcomputer, one of the stocks we've covered a lot on the channel before. In fact, prior to the sell-off, we talked about this. But then, of course, went through a whole roller coaster of data that's coming out, some accounting, legal issues, accounting issues from SMCI, and it's now stabilized at that support again at just under $30. So this is going to be that area of support for SMCI with a resistance all the way up to $59, close to $60 for the company. And of course, we've seen a pretty significant oversold level here for SMCI. So I think it's a good trade. I think it's a good opportunity to trade this, potentially back up to those resistance levels at $59 to $60. That's a good 100% potential upside with, little to no potential risk. Well, I shouldn't say little to no, but 11%. So the risk reward is quite favorable for SMCI. So that's where we are. With this. All right, so let's take a look at SoFi. A lot of interest in SoFi, and then Circle as well, CRCL. So Circle Intranet, 3.5% higher. Looks like we've done some analysis, but overall it's been selling off. We've talked about it. I think we definitely gone over this, where it goes over this, consolidation, then breaks down, consolidation, breaks down. Right now, consolidation again. Are we going to see another breakdown? Of course, time will tell, but very strong support at $64, $65 and resistance up to 90 to 91 bucks for Circle. Let's take a look at the fundamentals very quickly. We don't have annual expectations for Circle, neither for revenue nor for EPS. And then valuation wise, we've got annual revenues of 1.68 billion and a company that's trading at 16 billion. Not bad. So 16.4 divided by 1.68, we're looking at 9.7 times sales. So that's where we are for Circle in terms of fundamentals. Not bad, 9.5, close to 10 times sales, but we don't have any earnings to break down at the moment. Okay, a lot of hype at SoFi. What are your thoughts on earnings? SoFi, please support resistance. So SoFi has been selling off. Earnings are coming up later this week. So they are reporting on, is it later this week? Yeah, so Friday, January 30th. So again, you can pretty much check out everything on our earnings calendar here. So it's going to be available. All the companies that are reporting earnings are going to be here. So you can see the earnings per share for ASML, for revenue. And then later today, we've got Microsoft, we got Meta, Tesla, all these companies reporting. And then if you take a look at Friday, we've got SoFi over here. So there you go. SoFi, 12 cents in earnings per share with just under $1 billion in revenue expected later this week. Now, another thing that's really cool, I believe they're still working on that. I don't think that's available yet. But in the future, what we're going to be having, which we did have in the previous, it is earnings volatility. Okay, it's already here. Perfect. So it actually shows you the earnings beat probability based on historical numbers, revenue beat probability, and then the average price movement, median price movement for the last 12 quarters. You can look at the more recent 8 quarters and 4 quarters as well. So basically, in the last 4 quarters, earnings, SoFi hasn't moved much. I mean, it has like 3%, but that's it. 3% is the movement for the price. And it has beaten expectations 100% of the times for both revenue and for EPS. So this shows you the price movement and the EPS surprise, shows you the surprise and revenue and EPS. And then this shows you the price movement, revenue, and EPS surprise. And this also, again, shows you everything. And this is in table format. So you can pretty much look at that and analyze this data as well, which is available. But all in all, I think support level is going to stay up at $24, $25. So this right here is going to be that support level with a resistance all the way up to 30 bucks for SoFi. So again, a lot of consolidation sideways is what we're seeing. Resistance all the way up to 30 bucks, support level $24, $25. So UNH we went over earlier on the live stream. UNH we covered already. A lot of people investing in UNH, I feel. UNH, is there any life left? Kung Nal also asking about UNH. Alex asking about UNH. Wow. Do a lot of people have UNH? Down 20% yesterday. I've never traded UNH. I know a few of our members have traded it or invested in this, but it's been an incredibly volatile stock, to say the least. I think all over the place in the last year. But yeah, seems to be like a lot of people asking for UNH. Okay, Constellation Energy. I was looking at it today. Pretty great future. Thanks. Is silver best to buy before the Fed result or post? I think silver, if you're trading it, then yes, you can look into whether you want to buy it before the Fed result or after. But if you're investing in it long term, then it doesn't really matter when you try to time it, right? Of course, you still want to get a good deal. And so for me, like I did a video on silver and gold over the weekend, and we talked about $70 as being a much better DCA level where I would be comfortable buying more silver. But of course, Monday, Tuesday, it just kept pushing higher. Last 4 days, it's up another 28%. Like just imagine, it's up another third from its levels from over the weekend. It was at $90, $95, and it's now trading up to 113. And so just crazy momentum coming in for silver and gold, and just getting away to very crazy levels. So anything under $80, closer to $70, would be the dollar cost average level for me. So Mark, in my opinion, copper miners will be a bigger move. Your general thoughts? I think I don't know if I'm very bullish on copper. I'm very bullish on silver though. So if I were going in that order, I would go silver, gold, and copper in terms of how optimistic I am between these three commodities, because silver, from a demand supply standpoint, is significantly better positioned versus copper or even gold. Now, gold also does have very limited supply and is in a structural deficit, very similar to silver, but copper is abundant. There is 20 times more supply of copper than there is of silver, and the structural deficit is also narrow for copper than it is for silver. And the second most important reason is that copper, when you think about copper, right, if you want to buy copper, it is primarily industrial use case, right? People are buying copper for what? For industrial use case, right? For electrical, for solar panels, for electric vehicles, battery technology, all that. But it's not precious, right? It's not precious. Like you don't make jewelry from copper. Of course, you mix it with gold. So definitely there's a component there. But there's not as much desire to have copper jewelry than it is for silver or gold jewelry. So and gold has fewer industrial use cases than silver. Gold is also used in a lot of chips on silicon wafers and like chips in general, like for conductivity, but silver has the best of both worlds, right? So not only is it precious, but it's also industrial. So demand is coming from both sides while also having a cap on supply, because silver is a byproduct of mining other commodities, right? Zinc, copper, gold. And so not gold, but zinc and copper and a few other materials. So it's got a lid on supply. It's got a couple demand factors coming in strong. And that's why that ratio, silver to gold ratio, continues to diminish. It started from 100. It's now at 48. So silver has moved faster, twice as fast as gold on the way up. And I expect that ratio to drop down in the low 20s, meaning that silver will continue to perform better than gold. And copper will still move. I think copper still has a good, bright future. I just feel silver, like I said, in that hierarchy, if I would go there, silver, gold, and copper is how I would put it in terms of optimism. So yeah, that's my general thoughts. But to your question, I do like copper, palladium, platinum. I think as the world moves a little bit more in that direction, as we're needing more for these materials, and there is, again, a lot of supply limitations, both from a geopolitical standpoint, also from a logistical standpoint. I think there's going to be a constant demand for it. But then also, there's longer cycles that we also have to remember. There's like, population is growing, demand is growing for sure. And that's another thing. We don't have to dive into that right now. It's going to get too crazy. But those are like more 100-year cycles that we have to worry about eventually, not right now. How do you measure the diamond market? I would not look at diamond from an investment standpoint at all. I don't think diamonds are investments at all. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm ready to die on that hill. I keep having this debate with my girlfriend as well, but diamonds are not investments. They are quite literally made up piece of jewelry that, in my opinion, has little to no value for resale. Especially when you compare to like lab-grown diamonds that are literally perfect, no impurities, no imperfections. They're perfect, and they're the exact same thing. It's completely crushed the natural diamond market. And so it has little to no value in my opinion. But we can definitely be here for a long time if we start talking about commodities. But let's come back to stocks. Buy an apartment in Dubai, and Dubai is booming. I've already been doing that for the last couple of years. So yeah, it's been a very, very strong market for sure here in Dubai for real estate. Okay, so let's take a look at Trade Desk for Temoff. Then we will take a look at Fortinet, and then let's take a look at Tesla as well. Okay, so let's take a look at Trade Desk. So TTD, I think we've covered this stock a few times before on the live stream. What are you saying, Tempelov? Has no bottom right now, could test all the way to 20. Yeah, so right now I've got a support at 31. So this is the more immediate support that I have. And then we've got another support, not even 20, I would say like $17 or $18 would be a much better support after 32. So yes, it has been under tremendous pressure over the last several months. It's just been selling off aggressively. And earnings are coming up this, not this Wednesday, but 4 weeks from now. So February 25th is when they're reporting. So we're pretty far away for earnings. But if you do get another breakdown, next support down at $17, $18 for Trade Desk. Fortinet has also been consolidating sideways after a little bit of a sell-off on earnings. So this is the range within which it's trading. Resistance up to $81, $82. Actually $87. And support level is going to stay put at $72, $73. So that is the range within which we are trading for Fortinet. So that's the consolidation, and Fortinet, in my opinion, I think is a very good value even at these levels. But my shopping list, I think, puts it down a little bit lower than where it's trading right now. Tesla, on the other hand, resistance is going to stay put roughly at 454 with a support level that's going to stay put at 410, 413 for Tesla. So that's a lot of consolidation sideways here for Tesla in that range. I'm asking because I'm in the process of buying Mind Diamond Engagement Ring, and the price is a joke. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I think that's a very smart decision if you're looking at, buying a diamond ring. I think it's important to look at lab grown as an alternative because prices are significantly less than if you were to go natural diamonds. But yeah, I really wish they made like gold rings. Like, I know they can make the band, but some kind of crystal, some kind of like, shiny thing that can be like gold or silver that can actually hold its value. Like, if you're going to be investing that much money on an engagement ring, I think it's important to invest it because, so as Sean says, agreed, you immediately lose 90% of the value once you purchase that diamond, right? That's crazy, right? It's ridiculous and how expensive they can be. Thoughts on Tesla earnings, possible outcome, up or down. So again, it becomes more of a binary prediction, which I don't like to make where the price is going to go because, whatever I tell you, it's going to have a 50% chance. We can look into the options market to look at what the market is really betting on, but at the same time, nobody really knows at the end of the day. Like, nobody has any clear idea on where stock's going to go. So our job isn't to proactively bet on an outcome. Our job is to proactively react on the inefficiency of the market, which is whether we're getting an overreaction on the upside or the downside, and take advantage of that opportunity. So that's really where our focus always is. And so for Tesla, I've got the 990 calls for end of this year. So if Tesla does drop, let's say, and those calls print, my plan would be to close them out and then sell new ones on the next rally. But then of course, if we do break out to the upside, we're almost back up to all-time highs. And very, very important earnings call because, a lot of expectations from Elon Musk with regards to multiple issues that Tesla's working on, robotaxi, full self-driving, not to mention robotics, AI, everything. And of course, the goals for this year for vehicle deliveries. How is Dubai Hills? Dubai Hills is great. It's a very, very prominent community. Prices are very high though. And as I've always mentioned, I think it's a big rule of thumb for me where any investment I make, price matters a lot. It matters a lot, right? You can most certainly overpay for even the highest quality stock or piece of real estate. And if you overpay, you still don't come out ahead with any returns. So our job is to find great assets at great prices. And so right now, unfortunately, some of the newer launches for off-plan properties or even in some of those prominent areas, prices have just gone through the roof where it's very difficult to underwrite at a good yield. And so it becomes a bit of a challenge. And so nailing down the price, very, very important. Very, very important. Whether that's stocks or real estate, or it doesn't matter what it is that you're buying, when you are investing in it, it's very important to nail down the price, to underwrite, know everything about that, inside out, all the numbers you need to know, and make a decision based on a conservative, realistic expectations. And if the offer is accepted, if the price comes down to you, great. If it doesn't, there's plenty of other opportunities to look at. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. Can you give away prop firm accounts to me? We don't have any of that. So I'm just going to unfortunately hide you because we don't have any prop firm accounts to give away. What do you think about the European sector? Euro is going up and they are making mother of all deals. I think it does. It's a very difficult conversation, right? Because on one hand, yes, it is going to help European industries and Indian consumers, and vice versa, Indian industries and European consumers. I think the annual trade right now, it's going to go from, I think somewhere I read, like 200 billion euros to like 350 billion euros over multiple years. So yes, it's a pretty substantial number for two countries that collectively have about quarter of the GDP, of the world GDP is between the EU and India, and about 2 billion people collectively. So that's pretty strong. And this is a move that is away from the US, obviously. But at the same time, I do think the reliance on the US is still very, very integrated for both the EU and India. And so it's not like we're moving away completely, but yes, this is the start of something that could be concerning later down the road. So it is certainly a signal. It's not so much a market moving event, but it is a signal, which if others catch on, could become a bigger deal later down the road. So that's something we obviously have to monitor, which is what I mentioned in my video as well. Reaction to Fed's decision, are we priced in? I think so. I think we're pretty much priced in. I don't think that we have a Federal Reserve.gov. I don't think that we have a SEP coming out today. So we don't. So today is just the press conference and the statement. Statement is going to come in at pause, 25 basis points. Nothing's going to happen. No rate hikes, no rate cuts. We're going to be exactly where we are. And the most important thing is going to be Jay Powell's speech. What is he going to say? And all of that's going to matter. So obviously what's already priced in is the rate expectations, which is a pause. What's not priced in is what Jay Powell is going to say, because nobody knows what he's going to say yet. But I'm sure he's going to be still very diplomatic. Boba says, buy near Wynn Casino, new feature, new development in Dubai. I'd be very careful with that too, just because there is a lot of hype and promises for where prices could be. But like I said, it's, it is a challenge when you are analyzing a market which has no data. That's another challenge of its own, right? Imagine you are analyzing a piece of land that everybody's building real estate on, and what's going to be your benchmark? What are you going to analyze it to? What are you going to compare it to? That's another very difficult sort of underwriting problem here in Dubai. Is like comps are very far and few between, because every project is unique in its own way. Unlike the US, if you go to a zip code, there's going to be multiple houses, very similar looking, you can find similar specs, layouts, bed types, square footage, everything. In Dubai, it's very, very different. It's very different. So very important to kind of run your numbers well. And that's why I kind of lean more towards on the conservative side. Nvidia's on the move this morning. Meta 675. Goodbye, Meta. Yes, I think I can say goodbye to my Meta shares for good finally, because I don't think it's going to drop on earnings, given so much investor confidence and sentiment. The only way I get saved is if Mark Zuckerberg comes out during the earnings and says, psych, we're going all in on the metaverse. If he comes out and says, you know what, guys, I still believe in my metaverse project. I'm putting all my eggs in the metaverse basket, in the metaverse AI basket, then I think 640 is possible. But if he says, you know what, we're laying people off, we're killing the metaverse project, we're going all in on core advertising, and we're going to be targeting, monetizing WhatsApp and Instagram, I'm cooked. This thing is going to be at 700 before Friday, before I even wake up on Friday, and I am absolutely cooked after. All right, so markets are open, everybody. We got QQQs and S&P 500 sitting at a brand. Well, QQQs, no. S&P 500, almost, very close. Both of them, very close to all-time highs here. S&P is obviously at an all-time high. And volatility over 0.5% right now. Nvidia up 1.2%, trading up to 190. And Meta slightly down. Tesla up over 0.5% at the moment. So hope you all enjoyed this video and this live stream. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you all. And I will be live again for the Fed meeting, FOMC, at 1:30 p.m. Eastern to cover the FOMC meeting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And of course, the statement comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for that live stream. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys soon. And happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.